pretty cool, fun starts for this run.
I've stuck by Blue Cane being the fun one in my case, so that's basically my go-to when this question comes up. All right, we're off, so going to immediately get a little bit of love from the uncle.
Yeah, so those are wondering, we're talking about a weapon to get from Uncle. This being standard, but now swords are randomized. It used to be in the past that all standard seeds that started with the escape sequence, the Uncle guaranteed giving you a sword, but we now have swords fully randomized in standard seeds so that Uncle can give you just any weapon that can get you through the escape sequence.
Which there are quite a few options, surprisingly, including the all-important hammer for just smashing everything in the game.
Which the other nice thing about that is they now have one step closer to Dark World access just from talking to the Uncle. So they're off to a potentially really good start here, pretty fast start.
Unfortunately, having to put up with really, really tiny hitboxes, though, so... It's probably still one of the best weapons to get at the start here, simply because it does do the equivalent of the Tempered Sword for damage, even if it is kind of hard to hit with. And furthermore, out of the starting weapons, it doesn't have any form of ammunition to worry about, so you can basically kill everything in here in the search for bombs if you really want to.
And it seems to be the case that that's what Tripp is doing, just killing everything in sight, because as you go along, there's 3 chests in the very back of the escape sequence that you need a bomb to gain access to. So if you kill stuff earlier, maybe you'll get bombs earlier, and sort of like you won't have that sort of little bit of nerves hanging over your head. Whereas Ovid is just kind of beelining through escape and just probably thinking towards the end we'll start looking for bombs maybe.
Both of them are fair approaches. A lot of people are more prone to farming up the snakes and rats than the guards. But, oh, Ovidius getting his bomb. Now, optimally, they're going to see more than just one, because they're still going to need a set of bombs for Kakariko. But they've got several opportunities to get them out of item locations on the way, as well as they've already got enough rupees to buy it if they really need to. But hey, if a guard or a rat or something feels like dropping 4 bombs, that's, you know, convenient. Seed's starting out with a fair bit of love, actually. We've gotten 2 full heart containers and a piece of heart already. The only other possible item so far has been the hammer, and we can't exactly kill enemies with love, so that had to be not a heart.
I guess Link's never heard of killing them with kindness.
He prefers construction tools, apparently. So now they're just going to be making their way back up to the sewers portion. A bit of a unique attribute here is during the escape sequence, we do have a light cone despite not having the lamp. Not entirely sure why. I'm sure we can come up with some lore reason. I don't know, maybe Zelda has a lamp and she just doesn't feel like giving you hers. But the point remains, it's to not have to do dark rooms during this cycle and not guarantee that the lamp is beforehand. So it just helps, you know, have a little bit more stuff to be randomized.
One interesting thing to point out while we just continue through this escape sequence, on Ovid's screen there you see one of the newer features of the latest version of Randomizer, the option to change your heart color, as Ovid's showing off some green hearts for his health today.
Meanwhile, Tripp is showing off the always popular sprite change. Seems we've got another pug fan here. Alright, so 4 more chests to check. I know we're still looking for the map, so that's not going to be anything particularly fun. Getting a full magic drop for Ovidius. They don't have anything to use it with yet, but if they pick up a magic using item, that's nice to just have. Wow. Speaking of Dark World access, you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, we got ourselves a Moon Pearl. So that just puts us a glove away.
Or if the seed feels like being really mean, a Master Sword or a Cape in the sword.
Are you in a trolley mood today? Is that what you're hoping for?
No, I never hope for Aghanim. It's
one of the good ones.
It's one of the really annoying fights in the game. Not difficult by any measures, but... So, syncing up at the very end of the escape here, basically. Tripp taking a moment to pick up some health, though. So, the boomerang's a bit of an... sometimes understated item, I guess. It's actually really, really good in Skull Woods, as the hookshot can't stun Gibdos even if you have it at that point, but the boomerang can. So that allows rooms like the pushing statue room to be done much easier and much more safely than actually having to fight your way through them, or burn magic to kill them, or just spend like 5 minutes killing them because they have a million hit points.
And especially if they find their way going there early, just because of how soon they might have Dark World access, they can do a lot of damage too, and could probably kill these guys in like 2, maybe, possibly 2 hits, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much Gibdos actually do for damage, but it's not... It's a pretty considerable... Wow.
Yeah, you saw that tree pull?
That was... okay. They're not going to have bomb issues this game. Who put that many bombs in a tree?
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, the nice thing about that is like what the tree pull items are randomized from seed to seed, but once it's generated, it's locked in. So basically, if they're ever low on bombs, they can just go find a tree and pull it, and they can find bombs. There is the whole thing about tiers and stuff that I'll admit I don't know the specific details of, but at least they should be able to get the bombs pretty easily.
Tripp, why aren't you picking up the swag net? It's right there. Well, apparently he doesn't want to catch fairies, so... Oh, Ovidius has got this, though. So, as far as the tree pulls go, it's broken into 3 tiers. I believe it consists of killing 1 enemy, killing 3 or more enemies, or 4 enemies. I can't remember the exact number, it's 1 or 2. And taking damage during that time, and killing the same amount of enemies without taking any damage. This was the tier 2 pull, which is kill a bundle of enemies and take damage. Which is a bit of an inconvenient one to get, but it's pretty easy to set up, so... It's a lot, more fun when you get something like that out of the lowest tier pull, but...
And as you mentioned before, Kakariko needs a lot of bombs. We see the use of one of them in the well on Tripp's side. You're gaining access to the back chest, and it's going to give us more money.
Yeah, Kakariko can take up potentially 4 bombs depending on the race game. So you definitely want to, if you can, have bombs here, but sometimes the game just doesn't want to let you have them, so... That's a pretty early fire rod for Ovidius. Goes well with that full magic drop he got earlier.
I mean, that's just also one more piece kind of directing them towards that early Skull Woods play if they get Dark World access, possibly.
5 hard green mail fire rod and hammer Mothula. No thank you.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing about Randomizer is it doesn't care about hearts, though sometimes it's possible that like you're expected to do a really hard boss just based on the conditions of where everything is.
Wait, I can't count. That's 6 hearts. But yeah, your health is entirely irrelevant as far as I'm aware for completing at least most, if not all, of the game. So if it wants to, hide most of it away from you, it will do that, and there's really nothing you can do about it. They do not have Dark World access yet. They need a glove. Wow, Kakariko is full of stuff that lights stuff on fire, apparently, because we just got bombos out of the chicken coop for some reason. Grandma, what are you doing hiding that in there?
Keeping it away from the kids, I'd say, to make sure they don't have to play with fire.
I guess that's fair assessment. We also got the dinner plate out of the tavern. I don't think anybody expected that. So there's two different ways you can approach the race game here. You can either just head right in through it, which is a bit of a slower check, but it saves you time if there's actually something there. Or you can just hop down the ledge and take a look, which, if there's nothing good there, it saves you a little bit of time. Actually, it saves you a kind of decent amount of time, but... in this case, it's fortunate for both of them, having just gone straight up there, though.
Yeah, that mirror is always a really nice item, just for mobility in dungeons, and also just getting back and forth in the light and dark world conveniently. So finding that early can help open things a lot faster.
It's great too getting it just before the swamp here, because we get to immediately see the always classic block eating glitch, for lack of a better term. Does something actually have a technical name, or does everyone just call it block eating?
I don't think I've ever given it a name, but I think I'm a fan of block eating.
More love, so they're not going to be short on hearts for most of this this run. When you've got 7 at this point, you're doing pretty good.
And Tripp deciding those 5 rupees from draining the dam is not worth it, and is going to make its way down South Shore for a mini Moldorm Cave, and possibly beyond Ice Rod Cave, or maybe doing some fake flippers. We'll see what's up.
So he's about to have a bit of fun here, hammering mini Moldorms with green mail. This is a fair bit more dangerous than it sounds.
And Abed making use of that magic drop he got earlier.
Oh, Tripp. Oh. Oh, and that's really unfortunate because the glove is right there inside it. So I'm guessing Tripp is going to make his way back down there because there's just too many items there. Meanwhile, Ovidius is not going to do either Ice Rod Cave or Fake Flippers, opting to save and quit after getting the glove. And is, by the looks of it, going straight to potential type cave.
I will say, if that's where he goes, this might be the earliest I've ever seen a hype cave check. Which, of course, there's nothing wrong with that. That's 5 items. It's just the items don't tend to be in that sort of setup for me, I suppose.
Oh look, these count as a pendant. What a surprise. But yeah, it's not often you get to see this early, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of, if not the earliest I've seen it as well. And it's about as hype as expected, which is to say, not at all. Meanwhile, Tripp is going to take the trip over to Ice Rod Cave. I was trying to avoid that, but it seems I didn't last very long. I'm curious to see if he'll fake flippers afterwards, or if he's just going to opt to wait until actually getting flippers, because it is a sequence break, and the seed will never require you to do fake flippers.
Yeah, and on top of that, since they've already gotten Dark World access, they have a multitude of in-logic locations that it might be better. They might be better off checking just so they don't have to worry about any items based on sequence breaking. Because once you get an item from a sequence break, that can like cause you have to do a lot of extra thinking of, well, I technically needed this item to get this other item, so that means potential logic circles that can throw me off when I try to put all that together.
Yeah, I can definitely see an argument for not doing it, and by the looks of it, Tripp is actually going to go along the same path. Ooh. So we've got speed in our race now. Ovidius is going to be running everywhere. He does have to be careful of something, though. Having not found a sword yet, he doesn't actually have any real form of defense in front of him while running around. So if an enemy gets in the way, they're just gonna run straight into them. Digging game, please. Wow. All that for the bloomerang. Still getting out before the text box, though.
Yeah, I think that was 29 digs. The one thing about the shovel game, in the vanilla game, it is RNG whether the piece of heart that's supposed to be there comes out, I believe. But it's like each seed is different from seed to seed, but it's locked in to be the same number. So if we ever see Tripp go to the shovel game, which is very possible very soon here, Tripp will be doing just as much digging as Ovid did just to find that boomerang.
Which is a fantastic attribute of seeds for the purposes of doing races, because it means that one player is not just going to get like first or second dig, and the other is going to be there forever. They do the exact same thing with the blue balls during Aghanim's first fight, as well as the teleports in the Ganon fight, at least for the first attempt. If you have to go back in, the pattern becomes completely random, and good luck.
Yeah, the randomizer developers did a really good job trying to equalize any RNG that would make races imbalanced, which just makes it a much more intense competition. Like this chest game Ovid's heading into now, it's random if you get the heart piece here in the vanilla game, but you check 2 chests, you're guaranteed to find an item, and today it was a really good item.
We're finding all the red items. I'm expecting to see the lamp in the near future. Maybe the cape too, for good measures. Or red rupee. I guess that works too. That's red. Speaking of red, looks like we've got red pendant on Hera, red crystal on Desert, and blue crystal on Eastern. Unless we already knew that and I just missed it. That might be a case. Oh wow, flute. That's a really nice place for when you got the mirror, because he can just go outside and turn it on if he wants to.
And that's exactly what we're seeing. Nice. And we got a different play over on Tripp's end, heading to the eastern area to check Sahasrarla's hut here, get some items out of the back.
And getting nothing from Shahabadu. So the Eastern play is a bit interesting. I'm curious if Tripp is going to head down to get the Dark World access first, or if they're just going to head straight eastern. Oh, looks like they're just heading straight eastern.
And Ovid just got a fighter's sword in the first chest over in Thieves Town, so finally got that weapon in front of him while running around with the boots.
Thief stole all the weapons, clearly. Oh man, if we find multiple swords here.
And for those of you who can count, which I do not I'm not included in that because I always screw it up. There are 4 items to find in Thieves Town, like if you put the map, compass, and keys aside. So if you see Ovid opt to skip any chests, it's probably because Ovid has successfully counted to 4 with the items.
We're at 1-1 for the 2 dungeons we're in.
Now, was that bombs in the first chest for Tripp?
Yep. Ether as well, and oh man, with the sword we can actually use the medallions now too.
And on Tripp's end in Eastern, it's going to be 3 items that we can possibly find.
Finding the big key before the big chest, which is nice, means that if you're going to do the dark room and you don't find the bow in here, you can just leave from the where the big key is in vanilla.
What Tripp probably really wants to find one would be both, so you can finish the dungeon, but also if the next 2 chesty checks are both items, then he knows he can piece out of here. But with there being a compass there, that won't be the case.
Oh, those crickets in Thieves Town. So those things do like all of the damage, for some reason. They just decided these little crickets needed to just take your health apart. So I believe we found 2 items from both of the dungeons.
We found item number 3 upstairs was a heart container for Ovid.
Right. Yeah. I just saw that too, and I was like, wait, what am I saying 2? Ugh. Unfortunately, taking a death all the way back here, that's a bit of a walk. 3rd item in EP is a B, but more importantly, a bottle.
So what that means, so because Tripp has now found all the items in Eastern, we probably won't see him visiting the dungeon again to fend off Armos Knights until he's in go mode, unless he's maybe he'll do it right after pod if he clears pod earlier. But items-wise, Tripp has no reason to go back to Eastern.
Yeah, Armos Knights is only holding the map, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
A little bit more divergence here. Courtesy of the flute, Ovidius went up to Death Mountain and is currently getting the old man out of the Dark Cave, while Tripp is checking the Bonk Rock spot there and probably going to make his way over to Village of Outcasts.
So it's interesting to see that both of these runners have now done different sequence breaks, both lantern-based, although Ovid's is really just 1 item from the old man, and that's it at this point.
And meanwhile, Tripp's doesn't lead to technical further progression either because it's a bottle, and Sick Kid only had an arrow upgrade. So both of the potential logic breaks just immediately close themselves.
I got scared for a second there, but Ovid realizing he has to see what's inside Spectacle Rock real quick. Looks like it is that 300 rupees, I believe?
Yep, just a bundle of money.
Yeah, both of these runners already have enough for Zora, so it makes sense that it's not that Ovid opts to not go for it.
All right, so Tripp immediately heading into Village of Outcast, not going to Skullwoods. Probably wants to see if they can get a sword first. That way, if they take the trip up there, they'll be able to actually get to the Moth. They're going to get that if they go into Thieves Town, so...
And it's interesting to see Ovid's now visiting... The Tower of Hera is a pretty quick dungeon, but it's another pendant, so if he does end up clearing it, it unfortunately won't be a crystal for getting into Ganon. However, we did see one item in Tower of Hera so far, so we might see him peace out once he grabs the second.
Yeah, without knowledge of whether pedestal is required, I think most runners would just leave, but we'll see. Sometimes you figure while you're here, just in case you don't want to climb the mountain again. So, hey, look, another 300. Nope, he's just on his way out.
So the mountain's where the money is.
I mean, safe place to hide it.
And as chat's pointing out, Ovid's using that hammer mirror combo to make his way to east side of Death Mountain, which has another plethora of chests for him to check.
A combined 8, assuming he doesn't find the Titan's Mitts. A lot more. Actually, it would only be a few more with it, because unfortunately no hookshot yet.
But the love sure continues. Another heart container out of Spiral Cave.
This is a very, very healthy seed.
Oh, and Tripp deciding it's not worth dipping into Thieves Town, so not getting a sword.
Well, there's still 3 more out there for them to find. They will need to pick up 2 of them to be able to finish Ganon, but...
I suppose it's only 28 minutes in, they've got plenty of time.
More love. Ovidius getting another 2 hearts there. So OvidiusNaso has 13 hearts and blue mail at 28.5 minutes.
That is very impressive, just the way everything's laid out, how much health he's getting. It's crazy. And then that blue mail, just extra defense.
Tripp, by the looks of it, also skipping out on Tower of Hera, so... He's apparently not interested in doing pendant dungeons at all.
So the main things I think Tripp is missing because of that are Ether and a sword. So if either of those seem to like cost him any time, it's Thieves Town would be the answer. Just keep in mind, I suppose.
It's a little bit curious that he didn't head into Thieves Town, just simply on the basis that those 4 chests at the front, at the very least, are basically an overworld location, especially when you have the mirror to get back out of the dungeon with. So it's a bit of an unusual choice not to go in there, but it's, you know, not unheard of. I can definitely understand why you'd avoid it.
I must admit, I'm a big fan of what Ovid's doing right here, just because of the sheer enjoyment of how you pull it off. Doing the fake powder trick here using the red cane and mushroom.
It's got some unusual timing on it, but he gets it, so let's see what Batman has for us. Batman bringing all the bizarre weaponry.
I have no words. Depending on if Tripp does the fake powder, that could be a pretty definitive play on Ovid's part there.
Of course, silvers aren't required to kill Ganon, but they're really, really nice. They're also really, really good for killing about half of the bosses in the game. So, if he gets the bow anytime soon, those will be very, very valuable to have, especially if Tripp does not get them.
And that is a sequence break, by the way, for those who are unfamiliar with that trick. You would never be required to do a fake powder trick to get an item if something required was there. You would be given the powder at some point in the logic to get to release the bat by standard means.
And of course, they kind of want to find the powder anyways. It is an incredibly useful safety item, very versatile, and very powerful. But you know, if it's going to be in Pendant Ice, you don't want to find it. So nobody wants to go into Pendant Ice just to get the powder for silvers. Yeah, that's basically how V29 seems to work. The Pendant Dungeons either have half the progression items in them, or they've got absolutely nothing in them.
Alright, so the first two chests that they checked in Skull Woods, both of them having an item, which means at this point, they do not need to check any more chests here. They now have, like, they've gotten all the items here. It's just keys, maps, compasses, and a big key at this point.
They might opt to actually clear the dungeon entirely, though, just simply because they're already here, and they've got both the hammer and fire rod for fighting Mothula.
Yeah, so at the very least they can. Go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, that being said, hammer moth and not have magic fire rod kind of sucks, but
yeah, that will be frustrating. We'll see how these two deal with that. But yeah, at the very least, they can sort of go mode their way through the rest of the dungeon.
They're probably going to pick up a couple small keys on their way just to make the entry into Moth easier. I think you need one of them, but there's always a guaranteed one under a pot up here.
Very true.
Tripp checking this chest back here unusually.
May be unaware of the 2 count, which, I mean, if you try to keep track of it for every dungeon, it can be a little rough, so I don't blame him.
Tripp not pushing forward to try to complete the dungeon. They're opting to head back this way.
Thinking they're just waiting to power up a little bit more.
That's fair. The Moth fight is incredibly chaotic.
Yeah, I don't even know if I've ever tried getting any hits on Moth with a hammer. I can't imagine it would be convenient or fun.
It actually kills the Moth quite quickly, just because it does deal tempered sword damage. So I believe you only need 4 hits with the hammer, but obviously the Moth can't bump into the spikes, as I'm sure everyone's familiar with, at this point, and it's got that tiny hitbox everyone loves. Tripp instead opting to come up here and check North Dark World. Able to get both the ledge above Graveyard, the King's Tomb, And they can't actually make their way over to East Dark World from here, though, because they don't have the flippers. They're gonna find literacy in the graveyard ledge.
I feel like graveyard ledge has been paying off a lot more recently. It might just be my luck, but it's just... I feel like I see something there very often these days.
Yeah, it's one of those locations that I definitely have a bit of a confirmation bias to that one, where I'm like, check it, there's always something there, even though most of the time there isn't. Alright, Ovidius versus Moth. Unfortunately, getting bumped around a lot by the spikes. Like I said, this fight is a mess, so... I think we'll only 1 or 2 more hits. Ah, no.
That's rough.
Yeah. And unfortunately, due to the small amount of magic in this place, it's quite a bit of a pain to get... Oh wow, Agnes Cave has a sword. So, Tripp now has their first sword. Oh, that's right, that's why Tripp bailed. I completely forgot that he didn't even have a sword.
That is very true. Having to deal with just a hammer would be even...
Can't even get to the moth because they need to cut the curtain.
Oh, that's right. Not even access.
I completely forgot that until, just... Until someone in chat pointed out. It was like, oh, right, that's why he left. Didn't have an option.
That's one of those, requirements in the logic that I take for granted, because very often you get a sword decently early, so the fact that, you can't get to Mothla because they don't have a sword is, a situation that doesn't... I don't think it comes up too often.
And then you get one of the siege where it's like, here, you can have your first sword at 1 hour and 18 minutes.
And Tripp in Desert, with both a fire source and boots, is capable of clearing out the entire dungeon, which is something that, just one of those items can hold you back from sometimes.
Getting Quake out of it.
So all 3 medallions have been found between the 2 runners. Each one is missing one from a dungeon the other one has visited.
This is where both dungeons are just gonna end up being Baldos. To be completely fair, if Ovidius does the North Dark World and gets his book, I'd imagine he'll make the trip down here pretty quickly too. Which means he won't have to worry about the medallion RNG at all. Ovidius going in for round 2 against the Moth, getting a couple hits with the Fire Rod. Oh, that's unfortunate. I think he was only 1 away there. Yeah, the Moth fight is really, really rough without a longer range weapon than the hammer. It's not too bad if you've got half magic in the Fire Rod, or if you bring potions, but having not picked up their first bottle yet since Tripp found it in Eastern, that's not really an option.
Ovid decides enough's enough, and we'll just head back this way later. Which, given the fact that it's frustrating to die over and over again to a boss, and you know you can beat it later, and you want to be making progress, or else you're going to feel really far behind. I totally understand why Ovid's doing this.
Fortunately, choosing to go Dark World route, so they're going to get their book soon enough. Not checking Bumper Cave, but I'm not sure if he did it earlier. I don't think there's anything up there anyways, so.
Yeah, I think it was like 20 rupees or something like that.
Meanwhile, Land Wallace won.
Boss that can actually be killed pretty fast with the fire rod. 2 hits for each one.
And Land Wallace 1 is down. And drops a shield. You know, if they had the fire shield, why weren't they defending themselves against the fire rod with it?
They don't have arms to hold it.
I don't know, they could wear like a hat or something. Or I guess one of them could wear like a hat or something.
I don't know. Oh, and there's the third shield.
There's
It's
the
because
other.
so I think the answer is because they didn't know which shield they had. They had both. It was like a Schrodinger shield because it was both the fire shield and the mirror shield at the same time.
But they both work.
It makes sense.
Okay, we'll go with that. So that to me is kind of an item of... I'll admit I'm not fond of getting the Riot Shield. It makes me very suspicious of Turtle Rock.
Because of Laser Bridge, you mean?
Because of Laser Bridge. Technically, it's one of the 3 items that can direct you up there to say, hey, there's an item here logically. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it in that order, and doesn't mean you even have to have those 3 items to do it, but it is one of the conditions for it.
And I believe it is the only situation where the mirror shield actually affects the logic, right?
I believe so.
Tripp with fighter sword in hand decides time for him to take a stab at Mothula.
Curious if he'll, break out the bee. So the bee can both be really good and really bad during the Mothula fight. Sometimes it will just hug Mothula and hit him a bunch of times. Other times it will push Mothula right into you, and it will just keep it sitting on you. And that's not what you want, because Mothula hurts, so... So we'll see if it's a... If the bee is released, we'll see if it is a helpful bee or a traitorous bee. Meanwhile, Ovidius has come into Desert, gotten his Fire Shield, gotten Quake. He's completely set on Medallions, so he doesn't even need to worry about what Mire or Turtle Walk could be. He's got... Oh, it's a shiny bee, too. Getting distracted by pretty sparkly things.
And Tripp using the fighter sword, which might be easier to hit Mothula with, but definitely deals a lot less damage than the hammer that Ovid was working with.
Oof, and unfortunately getting hit by spikes doesn't care about your mail upgrade, so Tripp also going down to probably one of the more lethal bosses in the game. Oh man, here comes a ped check. It's a B.
What do you think? Should they pull the pedestal just to get another B to use it on Mothula?
I mean, whether they should and whether they could are two different things.
I suppose.
Tripp running into the guard calling lady. Looks like he's also going for the fake powder.
Yeah, I think I saw Tripp make a quick visit up towards the potion store, thinking to turn in the mushroom, and I sort of like had a change of heart at the last moment. So if that is what happened. Definitely, he'll be rewarded for his patience here.
It's not often that you stop and think, hey, wait a second, I can fake powder. I should do that before I turn in the mushroom. Ovidius picking up Master Sword.
Unfortunately for both of these runners, still no sign of the lantern, which, like, you are able to beat the game without the lantern if you can do dark rooms, but they're definitely pretty rough. I don't know how either of these runners are without lantern, but I know I'm definitely a lot happier with it.
Nobody wants to do Meyer Dark Room anyways. Yeah, it's technically a luxury item for most, for a fair few runners, but you don't have flippers yet, Ovidius. If you can get it though, you definitely want it. It's so nice. Even if it's not required, even if you can do dark rooms, you can probably do them faster with light.
So Ovidius opting to keep putting that book to good use to see what's on this tablet right here. And the seed didn't have enough love yet, so, you know, why not another heart piece, right?
The sky loves them too. The mountain loves them, the townsfolk love them, the sky loves them. Tripp making his way into Thieves Town and is going to pick up his Master Sword.
As well as Ether.
So we've basically got the two runners just kind of converging on items here. They diverged, now they're just cleaning up what the other has already covered. Let's see if Ovidius decides to do Eastern first, or if they're going to go for Pod first.
This is Ovid's first visit to the Eastern area entirely, right?
Yeah.
Alright, which means we'll see if he remembers to check Sahasra's backyard, which fortunately for him, if he does forget, didn't really have anything in it, but it's one of those places that can slip your mind if you're visiting East in the Dark World first.
Unfortunately, because they died in the back of Thieves Town, they're not going to get to find out what the green pendant is. If Tripp actually finishes Thieves Town here and Shalash is carrying something, That's going to probably be a pretty big advantage to have. It might be a while before Ovidius decides to head back and finish a pendant dungeon, even if it is green pendant.
And we know on Tripp's side from Ovid's like dip halfway through Thieves Town, we're gonna find, I believe it was a heart container upstairs, and then there's still one more item hidden somewhere in Thieves Town on top of that green pendant that Blind will drop for us.
Yeah, either the maiden's chest will have a small key, and the big chest might have something, or the maiden's chest might have it, or more thief. Thief is his name now. Blind might have it. So Ovidius opting to check Pod first. I keep wanting to call it something else, but I much prefer this dungeon nickname to its actual name. But anyways, did he? Okay, I didn't see that and was like, is this gonna be bow locked like right off the start? No, it's not.
No, we got a key so we can see what's further back. There's 5 items that Ovid could potentially bump into in here, depending on if any of them are locked behind bow or dark rooms or anything like that, and if Ovid does any dark rooms.
Yeah, unfortunately, due to lacking the lantern, if Ovid wants a few of the chests, they will have to navigate dark rooms. The horseshoe type room, that big loop type deal, isn't that bad. There's the last item in Thieves Town. More love, so go figure.
Which I believe that actually demonstrates one of the newer features that caught me off guard in the later versions of Randomizer, where keys can lock themselves in. So I believe that Blind can never drop a key, which means that the key to get into the room with the big chest is locked inside the big chest that needs the key to get inside.
Yep. As I'm prone to saying, Ganon's the type of person that locks their key in their keys in their car. So, Blind is a fight that tends to give newer runners a bit of an issue, but to be completely fair, when you have this much health, you can basically just face smash your way through the fight and try to get it done as quickly as possible. So, there is a script you can learn for this fight, since when you bring Blind in for the first time, they always go through the same cycles. Most people will opt to learn that, but sometimes you just don't, and the fight can turn into a very chaotic mess very quickly, but with lots of health, it doesn't matter. 9 hits and Blind goes down regardless of weapon, so...
Yeah, and that mirror shield actually, probably coming in pretty decent handy for Tripp, blocking a few of the little pellets that getting shot at him. And I didn't see how far Ovid went into Pod, but I'm guessing Ovid's not a huge fan of dark rooms, because we see he's already making his way through Eastern.
Yeah, I didn't see any not seen rooms, so I'm guessing he bailed before doing the back section. Unfortunately, for Tripp's efforts in killing Blind, they get a capacity upgrade. So, unfortunately for him, and fortunately for Ovidius, green pendant not required at the moment. Or at all, because we checked Ped already. It's a B.
Another possibility for why Ovid left Pod, I didn't see if maybe he ran out of keys and you need the bow to get a few more keys from the right side of Pod to get through. So, yeah, I'll admit I didn't keep a check on the key count there.
I think he had 1 to access the back room, because I think he got it just after jumping down from the big key. But I'm not 100% certain on that.
Okay.
Ovidius getting their first bottle at 55 minutes. Wait, has Zora been checked already? I don't think... Did I miss
Pretty
that
sure we
number?
haven't seen a Zora yet, as far as I remember.
Yeah, I was pretty sure I was like... I know I'm blind, I don't think I'm that blind. We might have had a Zora check, but...
I'm pretty sure we haven't.
Okay, because it's one of those questions when someone brings up, I'm like, no, okay, I'm going to second guess myself now, because I would totally miss that.
Yeah, Tripp fake flip into Hobo first, and the little island on the lake was just bombed, so we don't need to take a little pit stop there this time. And as you mentioned before, Ovid did have a key in hand, so now heading back to work through pod some more.
I always approve whenever fake flipper comes up. It's my favorite trick in the game. Oh look, more love from the hobo.
Trading the treat a key for a key in that room right there.
Fortunately, with the fire rod, can navigate this loop a bit simpler. Boop. Nice, half magic. Looks like Ovidius is going for the maid's dark room, while Tripp does the water walking glitch here.
And that waterfall just yielding money and another heart piece. And so the waterfall itself was a sequence break because we don't have flippers yet, and we'll at least see what's on this ledge, which they won't have access to at the moment. I'm not sure if I saw it was on the ledge there, but Zora is within logic, so this could be something possibly.
I don't think Tripp actually got close enough to see what was on that ledge. Might be figuring since they don't have flippers yet, it doesn't matter. I feel like we're actually gonna get something from Zora today. Oh, thank you.
So that's the second bottle we've gotten, third one we know of, all three having bees.
I really swear that there's a parameter when generating seeds where it's just like 4 bees go. I've seen 4 bees an inordinate number of times. There's 7 possible items or setups for bottles, and I've seen 4 bees more often than... Actually, I don't think I've seen 4 anything else at all, so...
And nothing too special on the Zora ledge, and the big chest in pod just having a green rupee.
We're very quickly running out of places that they can actually check. Death Mountain is not out of logic due to lack of the lamp. The flute actually opens up Death Mountain.
And one of the big things that's kind of holding us off a little bit is the Titan's Mitts. Kind of restricts a decent amount of locations. I still haven't seen that.
So Ovidius is walking out of here, so I'm guessing he's about to go and check the pyramid and maybe the catfish. Neither of which we've seen as far as I'm aware.
That is correct. They are pretty decently out of the way. If you're like doing other things like dungeons, so makes sense that they've not opted to go there because they've had access to a decent number of dungeons for a while now. But with how few options we have left, it's definitely a good option to start thinking about checking there now.
It sucks when you ignore this location for a good like 45 minutes and there are boots here.
I'm going to guess there's going to be nothing here but Titan's Mid at Catfish.
I'm gonna shovel for more fetch quests.
I'm mostly hoping for Titans at Catfish just because I feel like I never see the Catfish spit out anything useful these days. I like it when I see locations I haven't seen be required, just to kind of spice it up a little.
That's fair. It's nice to have a mix. Okay, Tripp might be either going into Harrow or checking Ether Tablet or both, since they're already up here. Looks like we're going to get the Ether check first. Oh!
That's a rough place to find Titan's Myths, I gotta say, because it's like having checked Death Mountain for a while before, like that's one place that can be easily forgotten and like you won't go back there for a while if you're not careful.
Yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate for Ovidius because they have effectively cleared the top of Death Mountain, but given how few locations they have left, it's very much likely they're going to make their way up there soon enough anyways. So Tripp's going to do the big loop around Death Mountain to go and put that Titan's Myth to use now. Unfortunately, you know, saving Queen from the top and then remembering that they don't have the hook shot, it's an easy mistake to make because a lot of people are really used to accessing like dark whatever. The dark side of that mountain from the hook shot location, and in this case they can't, so. But it will open up another 3 item locations, and they can, well, taking a look at T-Rock isn't that big of a deal, but it is open to them, at least insofar logically as the big dark track route type deal. They can't finish it though because Ice Rod is being Ice Rod. Actually, it's basically in its natural habitat right now.
And with Bombos being the required entrance fee to Turtle Rock, both of these runners had that medallion first, I believe, right?
Yeah. Lamp is required to get the laser bridge logically, because it's behind that big room with all of the tracks going through it where you have to hit the button in the middle. Even though it's a simple path to follow, you still technically need the lamp logically for it.
Which, once you memorize that path, it might not be that rough of a dark room, but if you don't like have the track itself fully memorized, you'll just be kind of going in circles and squares and all kinds of polygonal shapes for a while.
Yeah, the actual like most common route is actually only like effectively 5 inputs, as it were, assuming you count an input as holding the button down. Hey, look, more love. Or is it 6? I can't remember. Either way, it's a pretty small, pretty simple amount. But again, when you're looking for items and the lamp hasn't shown up yet, and this is one of your last locations, you're not going to expect stuff to be on Laser Bridge anyways. Tripp not going into Turtle Rock. That's an unusual. Oh, maybe. No, they're fluting somewhere. Okay. Oh, they've got Titan's Myths. What am I talking about? They can check a bunch of stuff now. So, are they going to... Well, I guess they're going to Mire. No point speculating when they're doing it.
And Ovid thinking that that 4th item in Thieves Town that he missed, or the green pendant, might be what he's missing for progression. Unfortunately, not going to be happy with what he finds. He is running out of places though, so we should see him head to that tablet up on Death Mountain for the Titan's Mitts fairly soon here.
Meanwhile, Meyer Shed has nothing. Checkerboard Cave has nothing. Is Tripp actually gonna? Nope, not gonna poke into Meyer. I'm guessing they're gonna be doing like the Smith's chain here.
Is Tripp taking long loops to the Dark Road right now?
Yeah, they're probably just gonna do a loop around here. It's very easy to forget they picked up the Titans Mitts when you get them at like an hour in.
That's true.
It's like boots. They're quite a few people will probably forget once in a while when they pick up boots at like the 120 mark and be, oh yay, I've got these for like the last 2 dungeons. Especially if you've been doing hookshot navigation the entire game, I find myself included, quite a few people are prone to just continuing to use the hookshot.
And Ovid showing off some fun Cane of Samaria strats here for blind.
It's a pretty effective weapon and has a little bit of, irony involved. Oh wow, there's a lamp. Well.
So it's not too far out of the way, but it was Titan's Mitt blocked, so Tripp will probably be pretty happy with that. I think I just saw a bow on the Dwarven Smiths there.
Ah. They're Boyers today instead of Smiths.
Ovid not happy with turning in that green pendant, getting a few frustration slashes in.
I won't be happy either heading back into Thieves' Town to clear it and just having Tim be like, here, have a capacity upgrade.
I gotta say, I appreciate Ovid's choice of leaving that green rupee inside the potion shop, saying like, you're only gonna give me 1 rupee for that mushroom? Like, you're so cheap, that's not worth it. Like, just basically dissing off the shop.
It's not even worth the time to pick that up.
So Tripp with the lamp and bow in hand is making the Misery Mire play. We still haven't quite reached go mode, so there are 2 items in here that Tripp will be looking out for. But yeah, with the lamp, the dark room is gonna be, not so much of an issue, and with the bow as well, just beating the boss is gonna be a cakewalk.
Why is it whenever you come into Mire and you're still looking for items, it always says here's the big key right at the start?
I think we got a couple more frustration slashes incoming from Ovid, possibly. Doesn't have time for it. Just says, I got my mitts, I gotta go.
Yeah, they're probably feeling potentially behind because they got the Master Sword and the book a while ago, so they could have checked this, probably a good 20-30 minutes prior, and just now getting it. All right. Well, there's a powder.
So that's how we were supposed to get silvers. Yeah, it's a good thing they fake powdered, so Tripp will have the we'll get to use silvers on. Is this one Vitreous? I always get all the bosses mixed up.
Yep, it's Vitreous. Which is a much, much nicer fight. That's both items out of Meyer, so he can make his way to finishing it. Only 3 bombs and powder, which powder's, you know, nice. 3 bombs, not so much.
Now, this chest Ovid is trying to check right now is a really interesting one, because although it's in Hookshot Cave, bonking across gaps is considered like allowed logic-wise. So there is this one chest in here that he's checking, which Tripp already did check, and I don't think it had anything, but it could potentially have Hookshot if the seed was feeling particularly trolly.
Yeah, I believe it's only got a piece of heart in it, though. Trying a bit of an unusual setup here.
Ovid may be unaware that he can start the boots run and then pivot in place.
Flippers cannot be in Meyer because both items have already been found.
Gets that heart piece for his troubles.
Doesn't even provide the health refill, unfortunately. No, Meyer is a two-item dungeon. It's only got a couple. And
it's got a lot of chests
with,
in it, is why it's confusing, I think.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of small keys and stuff.
Which I believe, for the most part, like, based on the layout of the dungeon, I think you can make your way through the entire dungeon without finding a single key in a chest, just based on keys and pots and stuff. As long as you don't waste any keys.
If you're going based on, like, just running straight to Vitreous, if you pull the big key out of, like, the first or second chest, you can just immediately pick up the one under the pot and go and fight the boss.
So it looks like Ovid's making the Turtle Rock gamble. I think he just died just to get a little bit of a health refill real quick.
Yep, makes sense. No, don't want to get halfway through the dungeon and then die just because you got 1 heart.
And our wonderful tracker, Reg, is confirming for me you can absolutely full clear Meyer with 0 chests and small keys if you do it intelligently.
Yeah, because you don't need one to access the one behind the torches. You don't need the one for the cutscene, or you don't need one for the cutscene chest. You don't need one for a big chest or the one beside it if you hit the blue switch. So yeah, you don't actually need.
And Ovid and Turtle Rock here, unfortunately, having to do this room slow due to the fact that we don't have the hook shot, so we had to watch this like full lap around.
Meanwhile, Tripp, having killed Vitreous, is going to make his way to Pod and Eastern, now having the equipment to clear both completely.
And it'll be interesting to see how far Ovid goes into Turtle Rock, given that has no ice rod and no lamp. We know he can't logically get to Laser Bridge, but he still may opt to try to go up there anyway because he's got the mirror shield.
It'll be a bit of an unusual play, just because it is extremely risky, but I mean, if he does get to the dark room, does get to the laser bridge, and Ice Rod is there, he does have the means of completing the dungeon while he's here. Assuming chain chomps don't, you know, be chain chomps.
Yeah, and this is the kind of paying off gamble that he's going to need after losing that time on Titan's Mitts.
It's going to be really silly if Laser Bridge just has like hookshot ice rod and flippers on it. They can all logically be here because you can have the lamp by this point.
I mean, with Turtle Rock having 5 items plus Mimic Cave having a 6th one, it's possible.
Alright, so Tripp. I should stop talking about my food. Tripp is choosing to check the bow lock side here, which Ovidius didn't have the option of doing. I don't know why I'm saying choosing, because they're trying to full clear the dungeon, so they're going to do it while they're here. So let's see what these ones on the right side actually had in pod. Nothing too important. Even T-Rock is providing more love. So Ovidius is going to take the nice doorway checkpoint here to refill their health.
There was one more chest in Logic for him to check, wasn't there? Oh, he's doing Mimic first, okay.
Yep.
I guess I had figured he'd already done it first, but yeah, you're right, he was doing the checkpoint, that's what threw me off. But yeah, it makes sense to avoid accidentally dying in Mimic Cave, because that would be rough.
What? Mimic, no clipping, come on.
Yeah, Ovid deciding it's not enough just to slice these mimics up, needs to blow them to smithereens. And through walls too, apparently.
Alright, looks like Ovidius is gonna head back into T-Rock. So just something to address kind of in chat here. The weapon upgrades don't necessarily deal twice as much damage, and the armor upgrades don't necessarily reduce damage by half from the previous set. The setup is odd overall. So Butter is not 2 for Moss, because Moss doesn't actually take damage from Butter Sword at all. Well, theoretically. Yeah, as Rigaro was saying there. In Vanilla, the Moss is just immune. In Rando, they changed it so that it will deal the same amount as Tempered Sword, though. So you don't walk in there with Butter Sword and try to kill a boss with an inability to die, basically.
I believe it has to do with, like, the spikes are the same, like, calculation of damage as getting hit by the Butter Sword, so every time you hit Moth with the Butter Sword, it thinks Moth is just hitting the spikes?
Yeah, I believe I'm not entirely certain on exactly how it works, but I think they're the same damage class within the game, so it just registers as 0 for Moss.
That's one of those little fun facts that I pick up from checking in on some rando races.
But yeah, as I was noting, different weapons deal different damage classes, so not even it's not a case of the sword just does twice as much damage. It actually does different damage values to different enemies.
When we were talking about this dark maze Ovid was on, where you said it was like, what, 5, 6 inputs? This is the case where if you get those inputs timed a little off and you're just wandering for a while.
It's okay, he's got it. So we're going to get to see our laser bridge here. Bit of an interesting way to navigate the room there. I don't think I've seen that before. Oh. Game, why? So there's the aforementioned navigating Dark Turtle Rock into Ice Rod find.
So yeah, that gamble paying off like Ovid needed. That really turns this race on its head, and it really blurs the lines of who's ahead at this point just because of that.
It looks like Ovidius is also going to go for not a fake powder, because he handed the mushroom in. So unfortunately not going to get that health refill. Might, Oh, they got red goo. What am I talking about?
That's something I haven't thought about. Does that fake powder thing also work on anti-fairies, the way it works on the bat?
Yep.
That's fancy.
Yeah, Ovidius still has quite a bit behind to do, because they still need to go over there, do the smith stuff to pick up the, technically speaking, pick up the lamp, and the bow. And even then, they still have to go back to a couple of dungeons that Tripp is currently just running through. And I can't help but feel that Tripp is going to just check Turtle Rock under like in the case that Ice Rod is there.
That's very true. It's possible for him to be a little intimidated to go there just because it's so long, and like the Ice Rod being there is such a sort of like, what are the chances kind of scenario. But yeah, it all comes down to what Tripp's feeling, I suppose.
Ovidius having a pretty decent first portion of the Trinex fight, but now for the pulling out another red goo.
Sure, he's happy stocked up on those earlier. So at least in the case of our knowledge as like viewers, flippers is the only thing we don't know about when it comes to go mode, I believe.
Hookshot too. We haven't actually.
Oh yeah, that's right. Just kidding. Both of those.
Oh look, some more love from Trinex. All right, Ovidius, are you going to start doing... They're probably going to start doing their Dark World checks. Unfortunately, they still have quite a bit of catching up to do. They're going to need Tripp to poke around and do a lot of, well, additional overworld stuff, because unfortunately Ovidius also has overworld stuff to do.
I'm thinking looking at Tripp's crystals. Looks like both red ones are lit, so could this be a Pyramid Fairy check?
Well, they can't get into Swamp proper, so I'd imagine that is what we're seeing here.
So what Regaro is mentioning here, our lovely tracker who's also giving us some nice analytical information. If Tripp finds one of those Go mode items that both of these runners are looking for, namely hookshot or flippers, it could send Tripp on a potentially unnecessary path or something like that, which, like, maybe if he finds flippers, he'll full clear swamp when he might not need to or something like that, which might be something Ovid will be able to skip. So just based on the items each runner has found, this could, like, really turn in either direction.
Yeah, if Tripp acquires the flippers and thinks that, I don't know, the Ice Rod might be an Ice Palace, that would be a huge amount of time loss. Ice Palace is quite the dungeon to full clear. Not necessarily as much as a couple of the others, but definitely a large amount of wasted time, especially when we already know where the Ice Rod is. Oh, uh-oh. Oh, hey look, hookshot and flippers and Pyramid Fairy. Go figure. So that leaves Tripp's Go mode item as the Ice Rod and Turtle Rock.
So that puts the commentators in Go mode, but for both of these runners, each of them has a ways to go, and Tripp might be doing some unfortunate dips into other places that are, like, we'll probably see a full clear of swamp for one, which is going to be some time lost that Ovid shouldn't have to worry about.
Yeah, I think this is basically just going to be, is Tripp going to clear swamp, clear Skull Woods, and then are they going to run straight up to T-Rock and just hope that they can clear the dungeon because the Ice Rod's there, or are they going to go looking for it? If they go looking for it, that has the potential to give Ovidius a lot of time to catch up.
For sure, yeah. I'm trying to think, like, for Ovid at this point, like, his options for where his Go mode items are very limited. Like, he knows it can't be an Ice Palace, but for Tripp, the Ice Rod could be an Ice Palace. So that's one place that Tripp will definitely have the potential of sinking time into that Ovid will never need to do.
Yeah, basically as soon as Ovidius is done here in Skull Woods, I'd imagine he's going to do the Blacksmith Chain. That's going to get him the bow and the lamp, just leaving the hookshot, and if he takes the bow and starts clearing dungeons with it, he'll probably get, well, he'll have to get the flippers and the hookshot at the same time, so he can't even get into swamp to attempt full clearing it until he's done that. So
yeah, overall, like, the flippers and hookshot being in the, like, side-by-side chest like that really pays off as your Go mode, in the sense of, like, there are a lot of really the one that, like, the fact that Ice Palace and Swamp are both completely off limits for you because of flippers and hookshot. Like, really, full clearing either one is, you need both items to logically full clear both. Like, that is good for Ovid, that he can't set foot in either until he gets those items, and those items given Go mode.
yeah, and he also even has the advantage as of this moment of They actually have almost, not quite, but he's only one crystal behind because he's finished off Skullwoods and he finished off Turtle Rock while he was up there. So the dungeon difference isn't that big. It is enough that going into Ice Palace will almost certainly give Ovidius the lead.
Yeah, and already this full clear action we're seeing Tripp doing is time he's losing to Ovidius as well.
Yeah, once Ovidius gets in here, he's just going to go straight for Argus. Probably won't check any chest beyond the first one. But that's not entirely true. He might stop to look for another sword. Some people don't like doing the Ganon fight with a Master Sword, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, having to deal with like all hits have to be spins and just so many hits back to back. It could be pretty rough. At least they got bottles they can fill up with some health and help. Got some frustration flashes out of Ovidius there.
No, Ovidius, don't. It's made of glass. You'll break it.
But on the bright side for Tripp, remembering not to flood the key, so we won't have to worry about any unfortunate Swamp Palace double dips here.
So I'm almost certain at this point Ovidius is going to head straight over to Eastern and Bod. Or Meyer, you know, there's that too. Okay, my first guess was right. Not opting to take the portal here. A little bit strange, but...
By the way, you were talking about a sword upgrade, then people don't like Master Sword Ganon Tripp on left side Swamp finds Tempered.
Oh man, we got a carrot on a stick. Or the bacon sword, or the flaming Cheeto sword. Whatever you prefer.
I think I've heard baguette as well.
There are a lot of food options.
And also, to Tripp's good fortune, finding the big key early means you won't have to worry about doing any double dips or extra loops just to check that big chest. Was able to just check it on his way to the back.
Yep, so this is possibly another advantage for Tripp as well, just in the endless back and forth we've got going on here. The Tempered Sword is very, very good for fighting several bosses. It's very good for clearing the gauntlet, and it's very good in the Ganon fight itself. So if Ovidius doesn't clear Swamp Palace, he's not going to be picking up that third sword. So if there's not one on the path somewhere else, we are going to have that difference in, I guess, offense.
Yeah, I would presume that Ovid at the very most would check like the chests like sort of on the way back to Argus, but taking the time to do the entirety of left side, I think for just 2 chests is more than I think you'd want to spend time on. But yeah, you never know till you see what the runners do.
Some people are very, very averse to fighting Ganon with the Master Sword, and like I said, it's pretty difficult, so, and time-consuming.
Yeah, and even this this Argus fight Tripp's doing, having Tempered Sword is a lot nicer, because with just Master Sword, you'd have to like do 2 slashes on each of these little puffball things, or if you preferred using the hammer, just get rid of the puffballs, you'd have to like do a bunch of menus between each hook shot.
Also saves time in just, you know, hitting him with spins there, as opposed to maybe attempting silvers or fire rod. Ovidius fluting back to 5 and taking the portal this time.
Yeah, I guess just didn't necessarily think to use the mirror to do double visit, but at least knowing like these are 2 dungeons I can clear pretty quick because I have the bow, let's do it.
One of the big things to consider when you see like an unusual move like that is it's very easy to have a buildup of nerves in a tournament like this. It's easy to point out how things should have been done, but trying to do it at the actual time that everything's going on is an entirely different thing. And having pulled off a bit of an unusual play and having it pay out really, really well, Ovidius might just kind of be an attempt to retake an advantage mode and just is trying to do stuff really, really quickly.
Yeah, so I think these next plays that Tripp makes, well, he's probably going to go ahead and do what, Skull Woods now? Tripp realizing, oh, I got Titan's Mitts. Don't need to do that loop around with the hammer. But I think, yeah, after this Skull Woods play by Tripp, getting rid of Mothula, which with Tempered and now Blue Mail and 15 Hearts should be a little bit smoother than his last attempt. Once all that finishes, it's the next plays that Tripp opts to make that will sort of determine where these 2 runners stand, I suppose.
Yeah, if he chooses to fly over to Ice Palace and take a quick swim over there, that's going to cost a lot of time. Time that Ovidius can start to build up. On the other hand, if he heads to Turtle Rock, he's going to maintain a decent, but not entirely insurmountable lead. There are a lot of things that can go wrong during during the tower climb. That being said, it's not likely, given the sheer amount of health they have, the powder, the half magic, so they're pretty well equipped for the end of the game.
It'll actually be interesting to see if Ovid ends up getting the powder or not, because if he realizes that after Palace of Darkness he has the 2 red crystals, he might just go straight for the Pyramid Fairy, and if he does, he'll be in go mode for Mire, and find if he does like the sort of standard routing I'm used to seeing, he'll get that early big key and may skip the powder entirely.
Yeah, I completely forgot that was in there. So if he go mode Swamp Palace and Mire, not only will he be missing Tempered, he won't have that as well.
Now this just goes to show how like different routing, where like really most of the routing these runners have done, like all of their decisions have made sense, honestly, I'd say overall. So you can see how, you know, both pretty good routings can still lead to completely different results in just one seed.
Definitely. Tripp comes to Moth here with a vengeance and just takes it apart. All right, Tripp, what's your plan? He's choosing to walk out of Skullwoods rather than Mirror and Flute, so...
I'm wondering if he forgot how many items he got and he has the big key now? Nope, runs right past that.
I'm curious as to where he's going. Maybe picking up the purple chest? Because because I don't think either of them have... Have we seen either of them hand in the purple chest yet?
We have not, just based on how lucrative Bumper Cave and the Smiths were. They both realized, oh hey, now I have Lamp and Bow, I can do a bunch of dungeons.
Yeah, so he's probably going to opt to pick that up and take that over. He'll probably fly, though.
Yeah, probably thinking this is a, you know, decently fast check before I start sinking time in dungeons. Yeah, because when you have 3 dungeon possibilities for just one item, and that item being Ice Rod, which can be literally anywhere in any of those dungeons except for on Trinex. Oh, Blue Cane, nice.
Yeah, Blue Cane Lunchbox, and it looks like Ovidius might be going for the Pyramid Fairy, so... But Tripp is also heading up to Death Mountain.
So both of these runners doing, like, the optimal decision they need to do to, you know, go as fast as they can at this point. So this is just making this seed very interesting.
Tripp does have the considerable length Turtle Rock. If he's willing to head straight in there, he might just be checking the Hookshot Cave because they just got that relatively recently. But if they head into Turtle Rock, he's got the longer dungeon compared to Go Mode Swamp and Go Mode Mire. But he's also right on top of Death Mountain already, so...
Yeah, and like I think I said earlier, like we have like that God Mire where the big key is like the first chest that Ovid will likely check, so he could potentially clear those two crystal dungeons, like 1, 2, bop, bop, done. If that's the way you describe fast things, I don't know.
Yeah, if both runners continue on their current routes and go into T-Rock while they're up here and just head straight into Go Mode for dungeons, it's probably going to be pretty surprisingly close. But it does hinge on Tripp actually turning around and going into T-Rock still with... Oh, hey, look, there's the Butter Sword.
So Ovid is the first one to hit Go Mode at 1 hour 43 minutes.
Alright, so not Go Mode T-Rock versus Go Mode Mire and Swamp. Fortunately for Tripp, or kind of unfortunately as well, Turtle Rock not in Go Mode isn't too much longer than in Go Mode. It's you still have to find the big key, you still have to grab a bunch of small keys, and it's a pretty linear dungeon, all things considered. But on top of that... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, yeah, like you said, the Go Mode is very similar to not Go Mode. Like, probably the only differences we'll see is that mostly full clear of Laser Bridge and then a stop at Mimic Cave are probably the big things that would make this any longer than a Go Mode T-Rock.
At this point, though, for the two of them, it is... as far as, like, final decisions go, it will be, does Ovidius check Hookshot Cave while he's heading to GT and get his Tempered Sword, because he's probably not going to left side Swamp.
True. One thing I want to point out, and like Tripp in that spike room using some boots Burna strats to be running while activating the invincibility frames. That looks pretty. It's a nice little nifty trick that can get you through there pretty fast and not take damage. Sorry for interrupting your train of thought.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I was basically done. Long story short, Tripp has a sword advantage, even if they get to GT at the same time.
Yeah, I think if I was in Ovid's shoes, I wouldn't be checking left side because I'm in Go Mode, but that hookshot cave on the way to Ganon's tower might be something I'd consider stopping at, because it's what, I think 3 chests for him, because he did the 1 bonk reachable one, but 3 chests and it's not too long of a check. It might be worth considering at least.
Yeah, it's likely he'll probably grab it while he's there.
And there he makes the go mode play, so for sure we won't be seeing at least butter on Ovid's side, and at least for now the tempered will be delayed.
Tripp making good time through Turtle Rock, so... opting to just burn the pokies in this room. Just doesn't want to put up with them.
I can't remember if there was a big key in the big chest. If he was in go mode, he could have opted to gamble skipping the big chest, which could cost him, but he's still looking for that ice rod, so knows he still needs to check everything anyway.
Yeah, he's not going to pass up items and just hope it's on the laser bridge.
And here's that hammer menuing I was mentioning for Argus.
One of the unfortunates of not having that tempered sword.
Yeah, it's so close to him, but just a little too far away for him to grab.
So at this point, Tripp is almost... He's got a pretty considerable lead. Well, I say as he jumps off into the hole.
You gotta be wondering what's going through his head right now, though, thinking, oh my gosh, this is gonna waste me so much time, the ice rod's not gonna be here, it's over, like, because he just, with every chest he checks, that's one less chance of finding the ice rod. We know it's here, but he has no clue.
Yeah, so it's easy to start building up quite a bit of stress. I think the worst part is, if I remember correctly, it's what, on the last chest on Laser Bridge as well? Or was it on one of the earlier ones?
I think it was pretty far down. I don't know, Ovid did do like an interesting check through here, doing the 2 right side chests first. Although with Tripp grabbing the little outdoor checkpoint first, he might find it at a nice pace.
Ovidius going to be making his way over to Meyer.
Not sure if Tripp forgot about the mirror shield or just more comfortable with the blue cane, but you know, double protection to those lasers can't hurt, right?
Yep. It's probably just to ensure that the beetle doesn't cause issues. While the riot shield is fantastic, it doesn't protect against enemies bodying you.
Very true. And then just to kind of go back, I remember when we first got that mirror shield, that little hint of fear that you got about, oh, that means laser bridge might be required. It's what we had today, so, you know, sometimes it happens.
You get really suspicious about Laser Bridge having something where it's like, here's the blue cane, the cape, and the riot shield, and you're like, oh, come on, game. It's even worse when you check and it doesn't have anything.
Buttersword making quick work of Trinex's first phase there.
Unfortunately, I don't think even a left side, right side gamble is going to make up the time currently. Ovidius still has to get through Meyer, still has to kill Vitreous, go through the cutscene, climb Death Mountain, maybe stop in Hookshot Cave to pick up the Tempered Sword, which they basically have to do, and then get into GT with another cutscene.
Yeah, that's rough. I'm trying to figure out, like, with Ovid getting that huge paying off gamble of a lampless T-Rock, I'm thinking, like, was it mostly the Titan's Mitt issue that sort of got him further behind?
The Titan's mid issue put him a fair bit behind, as well as I believe he spent a bit more time fighting Mothula than Tripp did.
Ah, that is true, yeah. He's trying to go for that early kill, which, with, like, Fighter Sword and Hammer and Green Mail is just oh so rough to deal with.
Oh yeah, I guess people can start throwing numbers in chat too, because that's what we do.
Oh yeah, 1 out of 22. Everyone's favorite chest guessing game. You have a favorite spot you like picking?
2.
I usually say 3, and that's because I hope 3 is the bonk spot. I like the bonk torch.
Well, my guess is already dead, so let's see if it's a torch. Well,
it's a key. Does that count?
No, it does not. Good try, though.
And 6 is a red rupee. And 7, we have a key. You can just pretend I named off what the first 6 were, and that would all make sense.
All right. Ovidius completing Meyer, going to be mirroring and fluting up to Death Mountain at this point. A bit of time could be saved for... he's going to stop and pick up potions, though. I don't know. I think something is going to have to go, like, catastrophically wrong here for Ovidius to take the lead again. And I'm not prone to wanting said kind of catastrophic issues, so...
Yeah, that wouldn't be fun. And 9 just giving them another key, so yeah, Tripp just going through. Got 4 chests coming up in this room, so it could be where we're looking today. Is just a blue rupee. I think that was an arrow upgrade, bombs, and more money. 10 through 13. Yeah, 10 through 13 there.
Going to mirror out instead of continuing on to Ice Armos and Bob's chest. So I guess maybe that could be a problem? Question mark? If the big key is in Bob's... Oh no. No. Wait, I'm being dumb. Ignore me.
Yeah, if he goes through the full process of right side, we can still get to Bob's chest. Is that what you're thinking about?
Yeah, for some reason I always think Bob's chest is a left side unique thing. It's absolutely not, though. I'm just not used to seeing people entering Ice Armors from the right side.
And as we proposed, Ovid getting that tempered in Hookshot. Very happy to find
doesn't
that.
feel like checking the rest of it. He's like, no, I got a sword. That's enough. Bye. Man, if Ovidius comes in here, just runs over, grabs some keys, and goes and does tile room, and it's actually in there.
That would be a crazy gamble. 14 red rupee. 15 10 arrows. Almost getting bonked into the teleporter. That's always a big fear of mine. Another 10 arrows. And a red rupee.
Choosing to mirror. And go left
That
side.
is interesting. So Ovid couldn't right side gamble because he hasn't gotten a key yet, but possibly he might opt to after getting that one, after maybe checking the Stalfos room or something. I don't know, depending on if Ovid thinks he's behind or not.
Yeah, I'm curious. Tripp definitely just had a lot of his lead evaporate in about how long it takes to activate a mirror.
I'm guessing Tripp might just not be familiar with the route of like taking right side all the way to Bob's chest or something like that. Like you mentioned, it's not that common, so maybe if he hasn't seen it before, you might not know it exists. It is kind of strange. Like the route itself is, I mean, it's like it has like falling platforms that sort of fall in like opposite the direction you're going, so you have to move fast while there's a fire bar attacking you, so it's quite the mess.
I mean, he's got blue cane. He can just pull that out and just walk through it.
Yeah, that is definitely the solution to solve that problem.
Well, it looks like he is going to take the, I guess, the conventional route to Ice Armos. The conventional is in left side. Still keeping a bit of an advantage over Ovidius here, just because of not having to stop and pick up chests along the way or check the side rooms.
In case you haven't seen enough love in this seed.
Game, we have 17 hearts.
Alright, so that was chest 18. So 19 through 21 behind Ice Armos, and then 22 would be Tile Room, unless we see another spontaneous mirror, but I don't think that's going to happen again.
Well, the only other mirror we're going to see is after the chest here, either with the big key or going to Tile Room.
19, 20 is the big key today. So whoever gets 20, if we have one of those, congratulations. You win pride.
Yeah, we don't have a 20. Nobody wins a guessing game today.
But with Ovid not doing any right side check, definitely the gap between them has closed significantly here. Like, I think any issues with either Aghanim or Ganon, or Moldorf, like, any boss troubles could be enough to close the gap, possibly.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a 1-2 minute gap most. And there's Ovidius on his way up, picking up the big key at just shy of the 2-hour mark. So, courtesy of Regaro's time stamping, that's what, an hour? Or an hour. An hour. Brain, please. Just short of a 2-minute gap. No, wait, that's 1 minute gap. Why can't I math today? Wow. Okay. That was silly.
It's okay. I'm there like all the time after a long day. Just mathing is not a good after a while.
Tripp is doing pretty good clear of the gauntlet so far here, though. Grabbing a fairy with the red boomerang from across the room. Nice.
I will say that's a little more polite than using a hook shot. I just imagine the idea of like impaling a fairy with the edge of a hook shot and just pulling it back to you just seems very violent, but a boomerang is just a little more tame, maybe.
I mean, when you realize what kind of impact force they have, not so much.
I suppose.
Massacring fairies aside, we've got Landmaulus 2 here. The revamp for this boss fight being it lags a lot.
Oh, taking this little pit stop is going to cost Ovid some time. Trying to play it safe, which I get because you never want to die on the way up Ganon's tower. But not in a comfortable position race-wise to make the stop.
They also don't have access to powder because they go mode admire, so whereas Tripp has a little bit more of options for picking up health later, Ovidius basically just has what they were able to get there.
Very true. I gotta say the fairy drops from enemies are pretty frequent.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's his health for the tower. Drops a fairy, gets a health refill. Okay, game, fine. You want to be that way. Tripp has a bunch of fairies and potions. He came in here with a bunch of safeties.
And as you mentioned, Tripp taking advantage of the powder on the anti-fairy and bunny beam there. Just gets another quick health regen.
Yep, once you get to that room, if you got the powder, it's basically a full restore. Here's the full magic, here's 2 fairies. Oh, Moldorm just exploding here.
And understandably, Tripp decides it's not worth it to check that last chest with butter sword, silvers, blue mail, 17 hearts. There's not much you can find in there that would make the Ganon fight or the Aga fight that much more convenient. Maybe red mail, but I think he feels good enough without it.
Yeah, there's really no reason to stop and pick it up at the moment. I'm not sure if that was a triple or a double. That was really close together.
Yeah, if you hit Aghanim like with 2 of the beams, like it was basically simultaneously, it'll only register as 1 hit. So we're at like what, 4 or 5 possibly at this point?
Well,
we're definitely at
now.
6 now. And since it took 2 on that last phase, that means that one that might have been a triple was probably just a double. Which, overall, that was a really impressive Aghanim fight.
Yeah, you can't argue with a fight that turns out that good. As long as you don't end up with, like, an actual... As long as you don't end up with more than 6 cycles.
And with that, it's Ganon time for Tripp.
Yeah, now we're on to phase 2. No, so much lag.
At least with Butter over Tempered, he can afford some of the time of that lag, but it's still definitely a pain to have to watch and deal with a little bit.
It's obviously to help dodge. We're just putting into bullet time.
Ovid making his trip into Aghanim now. We'll see how he deals with the setups Aghanim gives him.
Not getting the torch glitch on Tripp's side, but what with Butter and Silver, you don't need it. Tripp still needs to be careful. Ow. Okay, blue goo.
Yeah, that hit was a little scary.
And is it? Alright. GG to Tripp.
On Ovid's side, Aghanim is down as well. Yeah, for sure GG's for Tripp there.
That was really scary right at the end there. I thought that was like just going to launch Tripp straight off the side of the platform. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, when he paused, it was just an extra little moment of suspense. Like, oh, did he? Ah, okay, we're good. Yeah, Tripp finishing with an official time of 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 1 second.
All right, let's see if we can get if Tripp wants to come in for an interview.
And meanwhile, we got Ovid going through some Tempered Sword Ganon. Could be like not as easy to get 1 cycles. It's still possible, but either way, definitely, he's definitely happy he's dealing with Tempered instead of Master Sword for this whole section.
Oh yeah, Master Sword Ganon is a pain.
And Ganon asking Ovid, did you find the silver arrows in the light world? And thanks to fake powder, they sure did.
I would love when you ask that question, you can just turn around and be like, yes, yes I did, here, let me show you.
Definitely satisfying to answer Ganon's question with impalement to the face. And GG's to Ovid, finishing not that far behind, actually, overall.
Yep, GG. Welcome, Tripp.
Hey. Oh man.
GG, how you feeling?
I felt incredibly behind most of the game, and then all of a sudden, like, the heavens opened up and items kept flying into my bag.
I mean, that's not untrue, given, you know, Mitz fell from the tablet.
Right. Oh man, that was fun.
Yeah, so how did you feel, like, going into Pyramid Fairy? Like, that was like the big, like the discovery
Oh,
for all of
yeah.
us.
It was huge. I felt like I checked way too much stuff and that I was way behind. And as soon as I found both of those, I'm like, all right, I got a chance here. We'll see how it goes.
There was a bit of a point where were a little bit concerned, because when you pulled the hookshot and the flippers out of Pyramid Fairy, Ovidius had actually already gone into and finished T-Rock, finding the ice rod in there.
So he wasn't doing the hope and pray for the
No.
ice prob.
When he went in there and pulled that, he was like, I'm in go mode. Mire and Swamp are just full go mode. And it was even a God Mire too. So
Wow. Yeah, it was.
So we were really concerned that you were going to hop into Ice Palace to try to pick up the ice rod before entering T-Rock, and it's very good you didn't, given the time difference.
Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of playing the odds on that one. It's just, you got access to 6 chests while you're in there, including Mimic Room, so I figured it's got to be one of those rather than the 3 in Ice Palace. I'll take my chances.
Welcome, Ovidius. GG on the run.
There he is.
GG,
GG, Ovidius.
Looks like he might have some audio issues to quickly sort out, so in the meantime. So it was definitely an interesting race to watch. There was a huge amount of divergence early on, but unfortunately both of you ultimately had to loop back around to the exact same point, which was the good old mitts on tablet, and you did actually get there first, Tripp.
Oh yeah.
So that put you a fair bit ahead of the time up until the difference in T-Rock there.
Yeah. Yeah, being able to go mode Mire's huge, especially when the placement's like that. It almost, I don't know, I almost prioritize it a lot higher because of how all the variants with the big key. Like, you can get go mode on it and then still have to go through the whole thing,
Yeah, it's an unusual, but it's one of those. I'll admit it's one of those dungeons that I'm not too keen on myself, just because of the setup and it's like, do I really want to do cutscene room to try to find everything?
Yeah. I guess I'm just saying that I'd rather have. If you give me a choice between whether I can go mode Mire or go mode Swamp, I'm gonna take Swamp every day.
So we have a bit of a question from chat. We have a little bit of curiosity about your decision making in GT there, since it's not.
Yeah. That was pretty stupid, is what it was. I honestly thought I was going to lose the run because of that decision, with how close it was.
Yeah, it was very, very close to happening.
Yeah, I knew he had to be ending any minute now too, and I'm just like, that was stupid to mirror out there.
We were ultimately just curious if you forgot about the right side access to Armos Knights or what.
I didn't forget about it. I usually, if I get a key in that first room, I'll go ahead and take that route, and then if I get to that point, I'll mirror out and go the other way. And I just kind of went on autopilot.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
One thing I wanted to point out that sort of gave both you and Ovidius a little bit of trouble, because it was like really early in the seed, was that Skull Woods Mothula access. How did you feel having to deal with that?
So, in hindsight, cooler heads right now, it was really a dumb idea to not wait on Mothula until the very last minute, because there was no items that were going to come off of her. So, but I always struggle with Moth. Moth is just a tough boss for me.
I think it's a tough boss for a lot of people, just because if you bump the spikes, no damage.
Yeah.
If you've got green mail, everything hurts. Even if you have more advanced mail, guess what? The spikes don't care.
Yeah. But I mean, Skullwoods really, I got really awesome luck with the chest being fairly early in the dungeon. I should have actually recognized that I didn't have to go check that one behind the block switch. I should have recognized that and never had to check that at all.
It's easy to lose track of item counting sometimes.
Yeah.
There are several dungeons in the game. Each of them have different, well, relatively different counts, but it's also not a terrible check to make, anyways.
Yeah, with having Mira and Samaria at that point, it's really pretty quick.
Yep.
Man, that was a fun race.
It was definitely a fair bit of us wondering how it was actually going to turn out, because it did swing back and forth a few times with possibilities.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch the VOD and learn some stuff.
It'll definitely make sense as to where a fair bit of time buildup came from, because as I mentioned, the myth at Ether is pretty big.
Yeah.
That might actually been one of the things, because when Ovidius was going through, assuming I'm not getting people backwards here, I'm not promising I'm not, because I do that. He checked Hera while he was up there to begin with. So
Okay.
that's probably what kind of put off checking Ether quickly, whereas I believe you just ran past Hera when you first got up there, because it was probably because it was a pendant, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I kind of made the decision that at the beginning of the run, that unless it was something, really quick, or really loaded, I was going to skip as many pendant dungeons as possible and just take my chances with it. And then if I have to circle back later, then so be it.
Well, it worked out better for you, because it made going back up to Death Mountain earlier a more appealing play.
Yeah.
Whereas Ovidius, if he went back up there, it's like, well, it's got tablet.
Yeah. If the tablet hadn't been anything progression, I probably would have gone and cleared out Hera. So I'm glad I checked the tablet first.
All right, looks like we unfortunately won't be able to get an interview with Ovidius.
Yeah, he did pop up into the Twitch chat. I was trying to ask him questions through that. Not sure if he's able to respond there.
Yeah.
But in the
Hope you can
meantime,
hear GG, man, that was fun.
yeah, definite GG to both of you. It was a very entertaining run to watch. The various increases and decreases and switches and various the advantage was it got very exciting at the end there.
Yeah.
I know you consider it to be really dumb or really weird routing you did at the end there, and I can understand that, but it definitely made for a much more exciting GT for everyone watching. So
I'm sure. I thought for sure that was going to be it. That I was going to see his time right as soon as I enter GT that he'd ended.
you actually had really good execution throughout GT itself, like the gauntlet portion of it.
Yeah.
You cleared a lot of the rooms quite quickly. Didn't spend time trying some of the crazier or riskier strats on, like, you basically just walked through and killed everything. Is basically what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So that helped. You did earn back a bunch of time during the gauntlet, so.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, I felt like I played pretty well through there.
I'm going to see if I can ask a question to Ovidius, if we can get him to respond in chat, maybe. Ovidius, if you can hear, just curious, how did you feel after you accomplished that T-Rock getting past the dark room without lamp? Because that was crazy how well it paid off, especially just because of how it lined up your go mode, because that really helped you close the gap. It wasn't quite enough to, bring it in, but it definitely made the race a lot more interesting. While we wait, yeah, I don't know if they were mentioning it, but yeah, Tripp, the fact that you got the flippers opening up like different possibilities before you getting to go mode just made us a little tense as commentators, thinking he's got so many options now. We just hope he makes the right one.
Yeah. I yeah, I considered ice for a little bit, but I just at the end of the day I was like, yeah, it's 6 versus 3. I'm gonna go ahead and just take my chances on there, and hopefully that works out. If I had to splash back into ice, then so be it. I'll deal with it. I'll lose it on a high percentage play like that if I have to.
Playing the numbers, yeah, I can respect that. Yeah, so Ovidius is saying it really like him going into T-Rock really was a gamble, thinking he was behind. So that's pretty awesome to see, like a pretty hard gamble there paying off for the better. And then Ovid, I'm guessing you were like you stopped at Hookshot Cave, which was really paying off for you because you only had Master Sword before going into Ganon's Tower. Were you just going in there hoping to find Tempered, or just is that something you'd usually do? Or I'm just kind of wondering, was that like a situational thing, or sort of a I haven't checked this, what the heck, why not kind of situation?
Yeah, for a large portion of the race, since you had full cleared swamp, you got the tempered sword, and when you went up to Hookshot Cave, you had the butter sword. And but while you were running around with butter, Ovidius unfortunately was still carrying the Master Sword, as hadn't gotten back up there with the hookshot yet, because the hookshot and the flippers, which led to both swords, were in the same location.
Right. Wow.
On the other hand, he got to, trade that out for Go Mode Mire and Swamp, so...
Yeah, probably evened out pretty well. Probably in his favor a little bit, too.
The only rough part about his Go Mode Swamp was that Master Sword Argus fight where he opted to use that hookshot, pause, hammer, pause, hookshot, pause, hammer, rinse, repeat process.
Yeah. Oh, okay. He went with the hammer strat. Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Yeah. So yeah, Ovid saying he was a little on tilt after Skullwoods, which, in all honesty, yeah, this seed, just the way you guys were finding items, I can understand kind of feeling tilt after a while because of some of the setups of items we were seeing, and like the fact that you had to wait all the way until getting both red crystals to even get hookshot flippers.
Did Ovid take a death on Moth too, or?
I think he might have taken 2 deaths because he went there. I think he went there earlier than you. I'm trying to remember. Did you check Thieves Town like the first time you were in Village of Outcasts?
I didn't go into Thieves Town. But I had fully cleared the town via Village of Outcasts before.
Oh, okay, yeah. Then that's where Ovid got his fighter sword, was Thieves Town. So when he first visited Skull Woods, we were actually kind of confused why. Like the first time you visited Skull, did you exit it because you didn't have sword, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we were wondering why Ovid was going forward and you weren't, and then I think chat pointed out, oh, Tripp doesn't have a sword yet. Well, that explains that. So sort of, in a sense, that kind of paid off for you that, you didn't come back till at least you had a little more equipment. But even then, it was still pretty rough.
Yeah, after I'd gotten the 2 chests, I should have just not bothered with clearing it until I felt toward the end of the run, just in general, because it wasn't Crystal Plus, and there's nothing I was going to gain from it. It wasn't going to give me any progression, so might as well just do it when I'm well equipped and I can just leisurely kill that moth.
Makes sense. Oh, and then Ovid pointing out he did do that Thieves Town check earlier, but then died part of the way through. So he actually did a double dip, which was unfortunately another place where he lost some time.
That's a place to die too. That sucks.
Yeah, it was like after getting the upstairs chest, I guess. But yeah, he left and didn't come back, and then realized, well, I think it was when he was still looking for Titan's Mint, he realized there's one item in there plus green pendant, so that kind of delayed his journey to the tablets.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can't wait to watch the VOD, especially now that I heard about the T-Rock dark room. That's gonna be awesome.
You're going to see not very much actually.
Still incredibly impressive, man. That's awesome.
You get to see some fire bars. They kind of move around the room and then he's done. It's like, oh, okay, that was a good show. No, in all seriousness, though, that was really cool to see that actually put to use, and actually have it pay out is even better, because that would have been kind of heartbreaking getting to Laser Bridge and just having it be like, no.
Yeah, I had a massive sigh of relief when I opened up that chest and the ice rod was there, because I was down to my last two.
Yeah, we were talking about I wonder what's going through Tripp's head right now. With every chest he opens, that's not the ice rod. That's one less place that had it. So like, because we knew you were on a good path, but just realizing from your perspective, you know, it must have been terrifying. Whereas at that point, Ovid was just, I got flippers, I got hookshot, I'm in go mode. You know, just completely different perspectives.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You say clearly not so much Ovidius, but you actually cleared it in really, really good time for actually making a mistake. Generally speaking, when you make a mistake in that dark room, you don't recover from it.
Yeah.
You just kind of keep going in circles until the fire bars kill you or you decide to mirror out. So the fact that you're able to recover a mistake is really impressive.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it. That sounds awesome.
All right, so Ovid or Tripp, do you have any sort of final thoughts about this seed, about the race, about anything, I suppose?
I just hope they're all this fun, man. This was a great seed. This is a lot of fun.
Well, definite GG to the both of you. It was a very, very entertaining run to watch. Even with its, you know, kind of low parts, hard parts, etc. It was still a really, really good watch. And say thank you for, you know, coming out here and doing the run for us.
Oh, thank you guys for restreaming us. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, not a problem. And yeah, Ovid also giving the shout outs to developers and just really everyone that's involved in making this tournament possible, because it's just a huge thing and it's really impressive to see all of it. And I don't know if we've mentioned it yet, but yeah, Tripp and Ovid gave you guys like an amazing performance today. So feel free to give both of them a follow just for just how exciting this race was to the end.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it.
All right, I'm also going to give a thank you to our tracker and filling us in on information very thoroughly, Regaro. Thank you for making me not spew nonsense a couple times. Thank you to Iceman for restreaming this, and thank you, Xander, for joining me on commentary, so I'm not talking to myself for, you know, a couple hours.
Yeah, and thank you for being here too. It's always a lot more fun when you get to commentate with someone else.
And with that, I believe we're going to call it a match. And well, thank you for coming out, and have a good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.